Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Safi'jiiva is upon us, and today we're going to be doing a little quick guide on just what some things you need to keep in mind when you're hunting this monster for the first time. What sort of things you need to keep in mind when you have a small team, if you have more than one team, and I'll talk about which weapons are good for which situations. We'll also finally look at the Safi weapon system at the end. So, starting off with Safi'jiiva herself. She has 3 phases which you must complete, and they're based on basically how much energy she pulls from each level, which is basically determined by how much damage your team does. The more damage and breaks that you get on her and more abilities that you make her use, the faster she's going to drain and move to the lower levels. Similar to Kulvi, this is a multi-attempt siege, based on how much energy she uses. So every attempt after your first one, she's going to move quicker and quicker to the lower levels as you've already drained some of her energy, and it will become easier to break parts, very similar to Kulvi. In terms of rewards, it's very similar to Kulvi. You've got to meet the quest demands. Breaking most of the parts on the body will get you more reward points that'll level up your reward level, and you'll be able to get more rewards at the end when you finish her off. Okay, let's switch gears to talk about now tips and stuff that you guys should be doing when you're fighting Safi'jiiva. First and foremost, if you have only 1 to 4 people in the session that are doing the hunt, I would recommend going on to the second or third phase. One phasing is possible, but you must have a very strong team, primarily with players who can specialize to break every part of the body. So most likely, it'll be much easier to do once we have Safi awoken weapons that are just OP as hell. But for most of us, 2 phasing is possible, and 3 will definitely be easy if you just have a team of 1 to 4. Okay, so as I just mentioned, your first goal here when you're starting the Safi'jiiva siege is to break parts. Break as many parts as you can. If you're playing with more than 4 people in a session, coordinate with the other team. Have them focus on certain parts, and have your team focus on certain parts. So let's say Team 1 goes in and focuses the front arms and the head. Team 2 goes in and focuses the back legs and the tail. Alright, now speaking about the first attempt, a quick note as well. I mentioned before that Safi moves based on energy levels. So your first attempt is going to be the most time you will ever have in the first area. And this is kind of crucial for getting some environment damage to help you break parts. Specifically, we are looking at the boulders on the top, and then there's also vines along the bottom here. So in the field, there's one on the left side, and then one on the right side of where Safi generally spawns. And then all along the front side over here, you've got the vines that you can trap him in. Now, Safi doesn't move around a lot on its own, so what you're going to need to do is have your team coordinate to a side, either the left side, the right side, the front, in order to stagger him to one side, as you can see right here. So we push him off to the left by hitting on the right side. Now he's under the boulders and we can take it down. This is going to apply for any direction that you want to go in. Hitting the front will push him back, left will push him right, right is to the left. Once Safi is knocked over and you've gone through a damage phase, it's going to reset. So he's going to jump back into the center of the map. That'll allow your team to then pick a next direction to move Safi in whichever environmental damage you want to implode on him. My advice here is to get the boulders first. On the first attempt, the first round you ever do him, get him to both boulders as you've seen us doing right here. And there are 2 reasons for this. They are straight up, the boulders do 4,000 damage, and then they knock the monster after, giving you time to attack. Whereas the vines will just let you attack without that extra damage. The second reason is that the boulders are on the outer rims, so they're actually kind of hard to get to. So any other attempt other than the first one, you actually won't have time to push him all the way to the edge and then knock them. So get that extra damage on the first run, your first attempt, and then you can worry about the vines on the second attempt or even on the lower levels. So you can classify the first area as sort of using the environment to your advantage. The second area is pretty much all you guys. It's all DPS on you guys. There's nothing for you guys to use. As a result, the feature that they've introduced is the aggro feature again, just like Behemoth, except only this time, it's not just who hits the head that gets the aggro. It is based on damage, and there's a certain small window within the start of phase 2. Whoever puts the most damage on the head or any location will get the aggro first. After that, you have to maintain damage in order to keep his attention. Now typically, a lot of tanks will go for this role. You can just hit the head like a gun lance or even a lance or anything, you can hit the head, get the attention, and hold the monster in place for your team. Don't be afraid though if you're a light weapon user. Use the light weapon to your advantage. You're very mobile, very agile, and I would say keep running away from your teammates. Let your teammates attack the legs, the hind legs. If you're a light weapon user and have the attention, running around would actually give your teammates the most access to the tail. So the second phase is actually a great part for your teammates to actually cut that tail right off. So yes, be sure to use the aggro system. It is quite effective and drains a lot of energy from Safi. If you remove your aggro by some other means, he doesn't recharge right away. But using up the whole thing will get you much closer to him using up all the energy and moving to the further levels. Now, the only other thing that you need to keep in mind for phase 2 is Safi's ultimate. It's a one-shot kill that blows up the entire arena, but you have rocks around the sides that you can hide behind. So as you can see here, it starts with the blue. Wherever he's lasering, that's where the ultimate's actually going to hit. So you gotta point yourself away, just like Behemoth. There you go. So these rocks are always present on phase 2, so you just need to keep going to the same ones to get away from it. Phase 3, however, is a different case. It actually breaks the rocks on the first attack, completely obliterating and opening up the arena. Now, phase 3, depending on what attempt you're on, has a different goal. If you're on attempt 1, and unless you don't have a very strong team, you're most likely going to be just going for the breaks and then let her go. Come back on attempt 2 and then redo it again and go for a kill. The main thing you guys should look out for here is the gas plumes. So you see on the left and on the far right side here, there are these smoking green things that are coming out of the ground. Kind of like Gears of War, if anyone's played that game before. So the goal here is anyone who has the aggro, bring her over to these explosions. At the moment here, Harpy is bringing her over here. You can shoot a slinger just to blow it up. Instant 1000 damage. There's 3 of these on the map. So the person who is aggroed, it's their job to move her to these locations. This is again why I reiterate that maybe a speed or a light weapon character is better to hold the aggro. The light weapon character can move around while the heavy weapons can keep on putting the damage on the monster. So overall, I don't think there's any specific weapons that are going to make or break this hunt. Having a bowgun could be very helpful to reach places that you can't reach, like the wings of the back. They could also be useful for constant damage. Having a bow for the exact same reason. Having a lance could be very good for aggroing and a tank build. Again, as I mentioned before, any light weapons though could be very effective for having that quick agility to escape the claws or any sort of quick attacks that are on you. The tail also has a very long reach, so you need to have something that can dodge that tail effectively or block it. Hunting horn would be great as in any situation for a team battle. Buffs are never a bad thing. I'm never going to say no to those. More so what's important, and I'll talk about right now, is what perks you guys have as a team, like as a whole. I hope you've picked up though by at the end of this video now, Part Breaker is a must. Please have Part Breaker. The other thing that you guys are going to be doing a lot of is tenderizing the limbs. So using the Clutch Claw to weaken any part of the body is a must because he's got very tough skin. So having Tendonizer leveled up max and critical boost up to max will also be very effective to get your damage output as high as possible and break parts. For those of you who are tanking, guard up or max guard will be most effective for you. Last and finally, the one thing that all of you should have in your inventory, Farcaster and Dust of Life. If you cannot avoid Safi's ultimate ability, Farcaster is perfect for you to just get out of there. Dust of Life is important because Safi'jiiva also has one attack that picks up a certain target and they're immobilized, they can't do anything, so they're gonna need your teammates to help heal them while they're being damaged. And that's about it, guys. So all of those things included, you should be able to easily take down Safi'jiiva. He's not a hard fight, definitely less mechanics than Safi, but really fun. I absolutely have loved this hunt. Look at that, there he goes down. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we will now quickly look over Safi'jiiva's weapons and the weapons system. So the implementation of awoken weapons is something that I feel is actually a really cool idea. Is it OP? Hell yes. Do I care? Not at all. I'm a legendary hunter. I deserve this. Alright, let's get into it. So in addition to earning weapons, you can also earn these Dracolites, which can then be used to upgrade the weapons that you've earned from Safi. These will produce a set of 3 randomized perks, and these can vary between weapon skill enhancements to monster armor perks. It's this last one that's made this system very intuitive. Adding monster perks allows you to customize your whole build by replacing one whole armor piece with a simple weapon enhancement. So take an example of Tio. If you're using Tio's armor to get Master Touch, you usually need 3 pieces of armor for that. But now with this weapon enhancement, you can take out one of those armors, replace it with the weapon enhancement, and now you can work towards building a whole new set with a second armor bonus. If you're unhappy with the random perks that it's produced, you can always store the potential. This is actually very useful because you can store it. It gets added to the bottom right that you can see here. And the good thing is that it actually has a higher chance for you to get something even better. So the more you store, the higher your chances of getting something that's a 4 or a 5 star or even a 6. Actually, it's not really 6, but I guess it's like 5 glowing, which is the highest possible tier you can get for a certain perk. If you've already customized your weapon, there is a way to replace them. It's a very effective process that you can just replace one of the perks that's already there. So you see here, I got a better affinity and I want to replace my 4 with my 5. You can simply overwrite, takes over. Now, there is a limit. A glowing 5 star is the highest you can have. I already have it on my build, slots 4 right on the right. But I'm trying to add an affinity 6. It's going to actually replace that. You can see in the bottom right, it would decrease my slots to 3. So, this becomes one of the downsides for these weapons. They're very tailored to a very specific build. Depending on your armor, whatever you're using, that's the only way you're going to be able to maximize the potential of these weapons. So we can take my build here as an example. I already have Critical Eye level 7, as well as Weakness Exploit, so an extra 30% on soft parts, and then Weakened parts, an extra 20. So that's already 90% Weakness Exploit. Also an Agitator that I have as well, so that I can boost my affinity when the monster is in rage. So do I need that extra 5% that's coming from affinity increase 6? Probably not. So I'm not going to go with it. I'll stick with my slot upgrade 4, which actually gave me a 4 slot jewel. So that is a basic rundown of how this weapon upgrade system works. It's fairly intuitive, fairly simple. The main thing you're going to want to look out for is designing a weapon that fits a very specific armor set. Take a look at what armors you want to replace. If you want to use a monster perk on your weapon, take a look at what you can replace that armor with, if there's something better or worse. If it doesn't work out, don't bother with it. Go with one of the weapon enhancements then. I think this opens the gateway for a lot of possibilities. It's definitely going to be one of the most OP weapons in the game, as console players have already confirmed. I would definitely not overlook this, as Safi is here right now. Keep grinding, keep making your armor sets, build them as much as possible. It may use a lot of these Dracolite shards, so be sure to collect a lot during the Safi event. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and with that, that comes to the end of this video. There's a lot of Safi weapons that are great to collect out there. I've already got a couple, as you can see here. So get on out there, collect some shards, get some nice looking weapons. This is an amazing time for Iceborne, especially of us on PC. We've got content after content after content just thrown at us, so it's exciting. Look at how great my insect glaive looks. I love it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys learned something, took away something from this video. And as usual, if you liked it, hit that thumbs up and leave a comment below if you want me to work on anything else or you think I missed something and want me to cover that as well. Sky Sensei is out. See you in the next one.